What's up? Good morning, guys. How we doing? Hope you're all having a good morning here thus far. Let's get into it. Market is, of course, open. Things are moving a little bit. Everyone's saying volatility's up, man. I don't see it. I mean, ATR is in the mid-20s, but we've been doing pretty well with an ATR of this the last couple of days. So, again, broken record. But today, I'm going to put my head down and scalp. That's what we need to do here today. Range market. We've been talking about this a lot as of late. Take a look up top, bottom of your screen. That breakout attempt, I think we started talking about this maybe on this day. Then especially on this day, is likely to turn into a sideways trading range, at least for a few days. I'm just not buying it yet. I would need to see a much bigger bull bar to really buy that breakout attempt. Remember, we were dealing with this flat top, couple of different flat tops. For weeks, it was a huge issue that we were seeing, killing volatility, and now we're getting essentially the equivalent of what this was. I'm really hoping that the sideways trading range doesn't last quite as long, but it's not unlikely. So you can see here on the 5-minute chart, the 2-minute chart, clearly another trading range here today. So let's put our head down, scalp, get through it, and see if we can put a few dollars in our pocket here today. Andrew, good morning. John, DK, what's up? Trading Chris, Patel. What's up, guys? How we doing? Dominic, Marshall, good to see you guys. Kings, what's up, brother? How we doing? Rick, what's up? All right, market here. Again, you're looking at a 5-minute chart right now. That's what I'm going to execute off of today. If we need to, I will switch to the 2-minute chart. It actually looks reasonably clean, but I'll tell you what, on a range day like today, for me, I prefer, well, at least as of late, I'm going to prefer the 5-minute. But again, we'll switch if we need to. So, a lot of inside bars currently. I mean, really, if we look back since the open, inside close, doji, inside close, got close. I was very close to shorting this, pulled back up, nothing there. Got close, very close to getting long, pulled back in, nothing there. Started to develop that trading range. Nothing inside of this wick low, nothing. We have missed nothing all day. At least for me, for my style. So let's keep rocking and rolling. We're going to get something here relatively soon. The trades, on days like today, trades typically start developing, well, starting here, I'd say probably the next 15, 20 minutes on most days that, like today, where the trading range develops really, really early. Usually you start getting some half-decent setups as the range widens out. What do I mean by that? Well, here you go, opening bar here. I would probably draw this like this. And probably like that. So things are clearly expanding, right? I mean, look at that like it's a wedge, because essentially that's what it is. So for me, I'm going to trade it like a trading range. This here, again, unless we saw it close here and then we got a second bull bar closing way up here, maybe I would buy that rollover. But for me right now, I'm betting against breakouts. The probability of breakout failure is elevated. Not only based on the market condition currently, if you look at the daily chart like we did just a few minutes ago, but intraday here, we're dealing with a wedge, right? So if we can get a close up top here and then a small bear bar closing near its low, I'll short it. I would short that. Again, putting our head down today and scalping. Hey, Terry, good to see you. Brandon, what's up? Trading Chris, early morning, London was very kind to me. Used your mantra that I am here to put on trades with edge and not focus on the outcome, plus 3R on the day. There you go. That is the model. Andrew, good morning. Open my first Take Profit Trader account with your code. That's code BIG. Pretty seamless. Yeah, take profit, you know, straight up, they were kind of slow. I was dealing with it too. They've grown really, really fast. And their biggest problem has been keeping up the customer support team, making sure it's big enough to deal with everybody. But in the past few weeks, things have seemed to have been cleaned up and gotten quite a bit better. Maybe not for everybody yet. But for, you know, couple months there, it was kind of slow on the customer service side of things. But still, through all of it, take profit has been, I gotta say, my favorite, especially if it's your first one again. Take profit, daily payouts. If you're trying to bootstrap this, I think that's the way to go. And then I think Apex, also love Apex, is a great way to scale this. Once you're ready to scale, though, you gotta be full time before you're ready to just scale and go huge. All right, well, here we go. Attempted little breakout. Bears are gonna step in, getting that wick. However, you know there's a bear case. So the bulls, for me to be interested, would have to clear this bear case by quite a bit. And even then, given the range market we're currently in, I gotta tell you, I'd much prefer if this just turned into a bear bar closing near its low. You know, it's been a while since I've checked in with everybody. It's been probably 3 weeks. You know what I'm going to ask, right? What are we trading? I know a few of you are trading personal. That's cool. Evals or funded? And are we seeing improvement is the big question. I know a lot of you guys, when I first started the stream a couple of months ago, we're straight up struggling just to get funded. And then most of you seemingly got funded. There's gotta be improvement, right? What's up, Perfect? How we doing? John, 1 PA, 2 evals? There you go, Gaines. Gaines blew my funded 25K, but now I have 2 50K evals and much, much more improvement. Good. Taz, good morning. All right, we got 60 seconds until the close of this 5-minute bar. Now, Bears, hold it right there. Don't grow it too much. This is what I wanted to see. But I need the Bears to chill out a little bit. Don't grow this thing too much. I need a small, in a range like this, I need a small entry bar on the reversal. Otherwise, we're too close to the middle of the range. Probability falls off a cliff. 30 seconds. See what we can get. Five-minute chart top left, what I'm looking at. Oh, bulls, don't step in now. Those bulls are wicking that back up. Take it lower, Bears. That's not going to do it. Can't put it on. Next bar. Not quite clean enough for me. Max, Nico, what session would you advise trading? I find if I trade after hours or overnight, I tend to force trades. Well, Max, that is a patience problem, which stems, people don't seem to get this. But I find with most of the people who work with me one-on-one, after a few weeks, they start to get it. All of these problems stem from you not having any confidence in your edge. That's it. That's all of it. Every single issue. Overtrading, boredom, all the bullshit that is causing you to lose money. Emotional decision making. Why do you make emotional decisions? Because you lose 4 in a row and you're like, I need to get it back. Why do you feel like you need to get it back right now? Because you're not really sure, right? If you lose 4 in a row and you're like, okay, but look at the last 4 months, I've made, $800,000 because I have an edge. Oh, by the way, I can sit here on a calculator and calculate my edge. Or setup, I should say. Then you don't feel that way. It just goes away. Poof, it's gone. You're sitting, there's no setups. You start forcing things. Max, by the way, to answer your question, the New York session is most people's highest performing session. Some people kill it in Asia. I'm not one of those people. I've done okay in Asia sometimes, but it's kind of weird, kind of choppy. Volatility pops out of nowhere. I'm not super into it. Big pullback here. I suppose we could have entered and it would have worked. Doesn't matter, it wasn't my setup. But if you're sitting here and there's no setups for you to take and it's been an hour and a half and you're bored and you're like, I'm just gonna put something on. Why? Because you haven't outgrown that gambling mindset yet. Because you aren't sure of your edge. If you're sure of your edge, you feel good about sitting and doing nothing when there's nothing for you to trade. Because that is more profitable than putting on forced trades, where you know you have a negative expected value over time. This is trader maturity development. It doesn't just get fixed until you are sure of your edge. Will that fall, man? $50 points. Yeah, Steven, patience is a virtue that a lot of people don't have. In trading, it's not, yes, I can't argue with that. However, in trading, this isn't just like you just be more patient, you'll make more money kind of thing. It's not like a chicken and the egg. It's a very manageable process that you are in charge of. The patience is so easy. I've had people come in, they're like, how do you just sit here and not take a trade? There's a million trades. There's clear support there. It's like, not my plan. Don't give a shit. Do not care. They're like, take that trade. No. Why? So I can be like you and lose? No. It's not about just have patience and then win. It's about you develop your data and you're like, okay, when I take this setup over 100 trades, I make money. Right? When you know that, it's so easy to not take the garbage. It's not hard. Don't start with, I just need to be more patient. Start with, I need to put my head down, test these setups, figure out what the hell works for me, understand market context, and then patience just comes. It's such a step-by-step process. But that's not hand-wavy enough, right? So it's really easy to say, just develop patience. Oh, you're not profitable because you don't have any emotional control. It's like this all comes when you develop the first thing. The emotional control is a lot easier when you know that you make money over time. The patience is so simple when you know that you make money over time. All right, what I'm looking for here, honestly, I'd like to see another bear bar closing near its low and then a small bull bar closing near its high with ideally at least like 20 points before the 20 EMA. All right, there's the test to the bottom side of that little expanding wedge. Let's see if the bears break that out. I kind of doubt it. When I say break out, I mean hard. Basically taking out this pre-market low. But if they do, man, I'll look. All right, let's see if they take out this little pre-market low or if they get wicked back up into the range, which, I mean, this isn't really an opinion thing. I mean, it is the more probable outcome that it wicks back up into the range. But if it does break, that... It's not just about the break, it's about the break and hold. I think I had 2 trades yesterday where it broke and I bet against the break and it worked. Range market, man. I can't bet on a trend in a range market. I might catch the trend, but I'll have stopped myself before the trend develops in a way that really hurts me. Michael! Welcome, brother. Good to have you. Trading Chris, up 480 points last month. Good work. There's something to that. Chris, if you don't mind sharing, you can tell me to not ask you personal questions. If you don't mind sharing, how many trades did you take? I am not going to ask you how much money you made. That's a weird fucking question. But I will ask you, how many trades did you take? Because I'm curious about sample size of those 480 points. If it was 2 trades, it's like, okay, well. But if it was 80, man, there's something big to that. All right, you guys see that? There's the attempted break. We got 65 seconds left here. Let's see if this gets wicked back up into the range. Chris, 480 points last month over 56 trades. That's a pretty decent sample size. I like to say that I think 30 is kind of the minimum. 100 is much better as far as sample size, but it's not 3, right? 3 is meaningless. Over 56 trades, if you made 480 points last month, that is called a relatively high probability that you had a damn good statistical edge last month. There you go, Chris. Proof of concept. Everyone who said that you're wasting your time day trading, you don't even have to say anything now because you feel good about it. So you can just let them chirp. But that is proof of concept. That's a very good performance. Good work. Pat passed the Apex 50K count. Good job. All right, you guys see we're getting wicked back up into this little range here. All right, we got about 4 minutes left here on this 5-minute bar. 2-minute chart isn't looking too bad. You know, here, this is the 2-minute. This is why setups don't work. This is why setups, I should reverse that. This is why context plus setups only works. You can't just trade setups. It makes for a great YouTube video. Fantastic YouTube content isn't helpful. I mean, I don't know. I could sit and make a million videos about, hey, trade this setup and you know, make a living in 45 minutes a day and just lie to you if that's what you want. But that's stupid. It doesn't work. You can't just trade the setup. It doesn't work. You have to trade the setup plus the context. You want to have setups. Understanding the setups is important. You guys see the continuation setup, the reversal setup, range setups in general. They're all setups, but the important piece is taking that setup from your playbook. You absolutely need a playbook of setups and applying it to the market condition that's currently in front of your face. Okay, this 2 or 3 months ago, I'd have sold that rollover, but we're in a range market. Okay, selling that rollover is a negative expected value trade, right? Different decision, same setup, based on what? The context. If you're making opposite decisions just based on the context, given the exact same setup presenting itself, I mean, come on. Come on, right? If you're not sold on, you have to understand context as well as the setups by now. Oh, you got a big thing coming, man. Trading Chris, I used your teachings, watched your streams, watched your vids on how to make the first 10K. Yep, very opposite of clickbait video. It's literally just math. It works is all I can say. There you go. Math works. Imagine that. All right, we got 1:45 left here on this 5-minute bar. I want a bull bar closing near its high with at least, I'd say, 15 to 20 points ahead of that 20 EMA. If this bear bar, like it currently is doing, continues to push downside, then we have to look at this as something bigger happening. Again, you have to be very hesitant of breakouts in a market like this. Very hesitant. However, in a situation where, especially if there's stops available to hunt and give you an extra maybe 5-10 points and then you take profit near the high or the low, happy to do so. In this case, there's no stops. We're pretty much at the low. I mean, we are at the low a day. But that wedge is getting snapped up. I'm going to leave that top. We'll get rid of this and let things develop here. Now, another thing that's really important, I've talked about this kind of in passing, but I've never actually hit on this. Really, really crucial. 25 seconds. If I were going to sell the rollover of this bar, I would probably risk the signal bar. Okay, what would the risk on that trade be? 50 points plus, 55 points. We're in a range market. I can't sit here and expect this to go another 75 points, 50 to 75 points. If we were in a trend market, I would toss this on and risk maybe the previous signal bar. Hey, I'll risk 70 points. I think it's going to go 90. But in a range market, I cannot have any expectation it goes any more than, 25 points. Maybe it drops 150. That's great. Maybe we enter a trend market. Fantastic. But right now, making that bet for me is a bad bet. I know it is for me. Okay, so I can't do that. There's no trade here for me because the risk on it would need to be 50, 55 points. Potential reward, 15, maybe 20. And high probability that we just get this. Right, so let's continue to watch here. Let this thing develop. ATR, by the way, currently sitting at about 33, which is good this time of day. This push is helping that out. It was in the mid-20s when we started the stream. All right, you guys kind of know what I'm looking at here, right? We got about 3 minutes left on this 5-minute bar. Clean bull bar, closing near the high. Honestly, not much bigger than the current wick high of the current bar. And I would buy that rollover and just risk the whole curl, which would be 25, maybe 30 points, which is totally acceptable for a trade back into the range if we get that bull bar closing near the high. If and only if we get that. But I gotta tell you, if the bears make a massive, huge push, that's exciting. That's exciting because we've been dealing with mostly range markets for 2 or 3 months. And range markets are cool. We can make money in range markets. But trend markets, those are those markets where you toss on a trade, go to the gym, let it sit for 3 hours, come back, boom, 250 points, 30K a day. Like, don't make those bets in a range market. You're going to get blown out. Almost certainly. You just can't have the expectation it's going to go that far. But in trend markets, man, you can make the most amount of money with the least amount of effort. In range markets, putting our head down and scalping, I love it more than anything. However, it's a little bit more effort for usually a few less points. But that's what pays the bills, man. Those trend markets, they come around probably less than 20% of the time, maybe 10% of the time. Jeff, when do you make that determination though? Trend versus range? I like to see usually at least 2 or 3 really strong days of what looks like on a daily chart of like a continuation setup back 2.5, 3 months ago on stream. You guys remember? Like, for example, if we're entering a bear trend, probably 3 days on the daily of big growing bear bars, pretty much all closing near their low. A trend market for me, the way that I think about it, 23 seconds out, by the way, from the close of this 5-minute bar. That's a tall order, man. We'd have to risk probably 40 points. Again, that's fine in a bear trend, but the way the market's been these last couple of trading days, I can't do it. So Jeff, when do you make that determination? I like to see basically a continuation setup happening on the daily. Okay. For me, I think of trend markets this way. You know how Wall Street bets, stock twits, just X in general? You know when you have those markets, depends how long you guys have been around, but you've all probably seen this 20 times plus. You know when you have all those markets where everybody on those forums, I guess you'd call them, is saying, man, the S&P 500 has been up massively 7 days in a row. There's no way it goes up an eighth. And they load the boat, their family's life savings into puts. And the next day it's up like 6.5%. Yeah, that's a trend market. When that kind of thing starts happening, you start seeing people talk that way. You look at a chart and it's like, damn, there's no way it goes again. That's called a trend market. And when you get good short setups in a bear trend market, you can get a lot of points for not that much effort. Again, manage your risk. Same thing. Good bull setups in a bull trend market, you can get a lot of points for not that much effort. And by the way, you can scalp your way through those. I will happily do that as well. But you're paying a little bit more commission. And the big thing is, if you're scalping in a trend market, you can't take one scalp and then be like, it's a winner and now you're scared to get back in. You have to be willing to get back in. Otherwise, you're missing so much of the move compared to what you could just make on a swing. So again, scalp your way through a trend if you just prefer to scalp. But you got to be willing to get back in when another setup presents itself. All right, so here we go. We got 5, well, 6 technically, including this one, consecutive bear bars. Getting a pretty aggressive push here. So again, if I do end up getting short, I'm not looking for a big swing, but I'm looking for a close to 1-to-1 reward to risk scalp. That's it. We have about 2 minutes left here on this 5-minute bar. Let's see how it closes. ATR, by the way, sitting now at about 34. I know some of you guys are hitting that deal, by the way, man. Take profit. I think they're only doing this for around 4th of July, and then they'll probably go back to 30% off no activation fee. Again, I'm not in the know, but if I had to guess. But right now, this is the best deal I've ever seen Take Profit run. 40% off with no activation fee is a monster. So if you're looking to bootstrap it, man, and try to go full time, I think Take Profit's probably the way to try to start. And the deal right now is massive. Of course, only if you use code BIG. All right, we got 38 seconds left here on this 5-minute chart. Let's see again. If we get a nice clean close, I'd say above 700 out of this bear bar, yeah, I'll slap on a short, risk the signal bar for a scalp. I'm not going to risk like the whole curl. I'm not going to risk 150 points, but I'll risk 25, 30 points for a little scalp. Got to see it close closer down here. 8 seconds, see if we get it. There's the rollover, nothing there. Big wick back upside, can't put it on. Kings, basically prop futures is for scalping because you can't hold anything past close. Well, intraday swings, when people say I'm a swing trader, if we're talking about futures, I tend to assume that they mean probably intraday swings, like 2, 3, 4, or 5 hour long trades. But of course, people swing trade multi-day, multi-week, which is totally cool, by the way. The patterns on every time frame, they're all the same patterns. That's totally cool. But for prop, yeah, I mean, clearly prop, there's a sweet spot with prop. And that sweet spot, I think, tends to be on the NASDAQ, scalps between probably 10 and like 80 points. If you're going for monsters, especially in a range market, like 150, we've had some 100-point trades here using prop, but if you're going for 150, 200-point trades, the risk of running into a drawdown issue because I know most people aren't trading just one micro. You're at least trading a few, especially if you're trading minis. This is a ridiculous idea. But if you're looking for huge trades, if it goes 120 points, then pulls back and stops you out, huge hit to the trailing drawdown. But if you're scalping for anything less than 8 to 10 points, I'd say like minimum, you're going to pay a lot of commissions. Slippage maybe on the since, you know, in prop you're using sim accounts unless you're in a cash account. Slippage might become an issue. Commissions are probably going to be an issue, but you know, this is already still an issue in personal accounts. I think anything less than 8 to 10 in general, whether you're using prop or personal accounts on the NASDAQ, is maybe a little too tight. Like if you're scalping for 3 points on the NASDAQ, I would say it's just too difficult to be worth trying to figure it out, because you're going to get chopped. Because the most you could risk, even if you went massively negative reward to risk, scalping for 3 points or something, maybe risking like 15, which is crazy, you're still going to have a chop out issue. And it's really hard to have an edge. So I think giving it a little bit more room, but not being scared to take 15-point scalps is probably the sweet spot. You know, 15, 25, 40, 60, depending on volatility, is probably the sweet spot. But yes, with trailing drawdown and the fact that you can't hold overnight, prop certainly favors, kind of without saying it, they certainly favor scalping, but not micro scalping. And I don't mean like scalping MNQ micros. What I mean is micro scalping for like 2 points. That's micro scalping. Don't try to do that with prop. It's way, way too hard to make it work, and you're much better off just going for 10 plus points, I'd say. 8 to 10 plus points. All right, we got 1 minute and 10 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar. Let's see how it closes. If this turns into a doji, well, it's already a doji, but if it closes as a doji, then all of a sudden we're looking at shrinking bear bodies and then the beginning of an attempted reversal out of the bulls. Which for me, again, if that occurs, if it closes as mostly a doji, which 30 seconds will know, then I'd buy any bull bar closing above its high. Sorry, closing near its high. Ideally above this. 15 seconds out. All right, well, I wouldn't say a doji, but big wick. Closing inside of the wick low of the previous bar. We have not seen that in this entire sequence. Lower. Below the previous bar's wick, below the previous bar's wick, below, inside, with a big bull wick back upside. Doesn't mean that the bulls are going to reverse it, but it means they're trying, okay? They're attempting to do so. I think what the bulls are probably looking at here is, you know, you look at the daily here. This is the New York session. We've taken out yesterday's low. Okay, and then they're looking at this and they're saying, this is still a range market, right? And they're probably going to try to reverse this here. We'll see if they're successful. I will bet on them being successful if we see a close near the high of this bull bar, above, I'll say minimum above this wick, the wick high of the previous bar. I would buy the close then of this bar, 4 minutes out. Yes, Joe, there would be plenty of room. This would be a really, really great scalp for me, regardless of outcome, if we can see this bull bar close above this previous bar's wick high. That'd be a great scalp. I'd toss that on. Depending on how it closes, I'd either risk just the signal bar or the entire curl. If it closes real high, I'll just risk the signal bar because less room to the 20. If it closed like right here, I would buy the rollover and probably risk the whole curl because much more room before any hang up. But gotta see that close, man. I can't just blindly buy if it's not there. Two minutes out. Come on, Bulls, put it together. Gotta see it close above 22,720 for me. 40 seconds out. And if we do get that, I will buy the rollover. If we don't get that, then there's no reason to believe that this bear trend has broken yet. Copy trader. All turned on, ready to rock. Come on, Bulls. Nothing there. On to the next bar, but you see this, right? I mean, you see what's happening. We're look at this sequence. Shrinking bear bodies. Small bull doji. The bulls are trying everything they can to reverse this. Just not strong enough yet. Same idea here applies if we can close above 2 bars ago the wick high. Again, same thing. A close above 720. I slap on a rollover buy. Be a beautiful setup for me. Yeah, Joe. See, Joe's pointing out the 2 minute. 100% entering a little trading range here on the 2 minute. Let's see if that holds up here. These little dojis on the 5, as you get this base, any lower time frame, it looks more and more like a trading range. All right, Bears trying to take that out. Let's see if they can. You know, by the way, I know that there's probably some of you out there right now watching who are in this exact position. If you happen to buy, you know, this clothes or something, or maybe you bought this clothes, and then this happened, and you're still holding. I cannot tell you how many times in stocks, mostly stocks, in the early years, I was in that position. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not worth it. I get it, like, but understand that you're not holding, you're holding for two reasons. And it's not about the money, really. You're holding because you're avoiding the pain of cutting it. But let's be real, if you cut the loss, you're in the exact same position as you currently are unrealized. It changes nothing other than protecting you from continued downside, right? But I get it, I've been there. And number two, there's something to be said for repeat offenders, people who do that often. You hold losers massively and you're like, well, it's too far gone now. Sunk cost fallacy, right? Should probably just leave it on. There's something to be said about, you need to look yourself in the mirror and say, am I one of the people, because this is very common, I'm not really after the money, I'm more addicted. This is like what a lot of gambling addicts get addicted to. You can say, I'm more addicted to the feeling of putting on risk, being in a bad situation, and then getting away with it. Bear's taking out that low. Look at this. Look at this. 60 seconds left on this 5-minute bar. A lot of people are in that boat and don't even realize it. And if that's a problem, you need to cut that right now. Right now. Because that's very real. It's very real. You might say, well, isn't that like self-sabotage? Kinda. But it's like kind of a high if you're 100 points in the red and all of a sudden it curls and now you make 30 points. People get addicted to that feeling. Right? Don't go down that path. That's the base for a lot of gambling addictions. People think it's about the highs. It's about putting on risk, being in a bad situation, and then getting out of it and getting away with it. It makes you feel like untouchable, right? So you can get addicted to that. Don't do that. Just cut the loser. I promise you, taking a bunch of tiny little paper cuts, right, is much better than getting hacked in half with a dull axe. I promise you. Just take the paper cut the loss. You're in a fine position. Go to the next trade. You see this bear's closing inside of this wick low. So they tested the low and failed. But the bears are certainly still in control here. The bulls were not able to give me a nice clean close above this wick. No real bull bar here. Small little bull doji. Right back to a bear bar. So bears are in control, but they're not so in control, at least at this very instant, that I'm looking to get short. I mean, they couldn't even hold the low. The good news is we're never more than a few minutes away from taking a trade, though. All right, we have 3 minutes, 45 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar. Again, hey, let's see how it closes. Yeah, Dominic, hey. Listen, it just goes to show, and the longer you do this, the more you'll I think, feel the way that I do. Let news do its thing, but don't try to trade it. The market bakes everything in. The market is the collective result of a massive sample size of some of the smartest people on the planet with some of the most information on the planet. So a news release, especially if we're talking futures. Now, this is different in like small cap momentum world because those are priced so inefficiently, which is a good thing as a day trader, that they can move from $3 to 30 because, you know, every person with a gambling mindset is willing to pay whatever because they don't know what it's worth, right? Based on the news, no one knows what it's worth. That's a good thing. That leads to a lot of volatility. But in the futures market, futures are pretty efficiently priced. So when you get news, I'm of the camp that it's pretty much a 50-50 shot. So if you can help it, try to be flat on big news releases, let it hit, and then go right back to price action where you can get better than 50-50, right? Just because there's a lot of volatility doesn't mean it's a good bet. All right, 90 seconds out. Let's see if we can get the first relatively strong bull close. I would need to see a close above, I'd say 711. 70 seconds. "35 seconds. Five-minute chart, top left here is what I'm looking at. All right, gotta get long. All right, this is how I currently sit. Sitting long here. Again, not necessarily looking for this full target, but I'll leave it up there in case we get some news or something. I like to leave myself exposed, and then I'll drive manually, either by moving this or with hotkeys. But let's see if the bulls can get a bit of a pop. That was a very strong close out of the bulls. Now, again, there's still very much a bear case here. The bears are still looking at this and saying, well, I think we're entering either a trading range or maybe we're going to continue this bear trend. See what happens. Probability is fine for me. Joe says, the more I watch you candlestick read the price action, the more I'm removing stuff from my screen. Yeah, I don't like stuff. I hate too much stuff. Speaking of which, let's clean this out. Wifey is in the chat. Say what's up. All right, let's see if the bears take out this low in which case it would stop me. Still impressed by that close, though, out of the bulls, gotta tell you. Sheesh, big pullback here out of the bears. I imagine it's gonna cut us. Yeah, Jesus. All right. That was quick. Okay. Let's keep seeing how this develops. That's a big bear bar, man. Bulls did lock in a decent close. That was a good trade for me. But man, those bears stepped right back in. The range on this bar. Oh, 70 points. All right, that's going to be the biggest bar by far on the day so far. I believe. Yeah, man. Look at that. All right, let's move on. This bar here, I gotta wait. This bar is really, really big. Much bigger than all the other bars we've seen. I mean, the range is 92 points. Which in this market is kind of nuts. What if we got a headline coming through? An unscheduled headline. Nothing that I'm seeing yet. But that didn't feel like a headline bar. That just felt like a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy bar. Started to sell off and just sold off more. If we did get a headline, I'll let you guys know, but I'm not seeing anything coming through yet. Man, that is quite the, I gotta tell you, it's quite a surprising bear bar. As far as size, right? Volatility. There's still no headline coming through, right? It might have just been a self-fulfilling prophecy sell-off. Yeah, Joe, I kind of agree with you, man. That was a really, really controlled but speedy sell-off. You know, a decent rule of thumb here that I think most people should follow, especially if you're more of a beginner. In a move like this, don't buy the down move. I mean, right, you could have bought this. None of it would have worked. The best buy in this entire move, the best buy was the one that I took. Almost without a doubt. Okay? And I got smoked on that trade. So, seriously, if you're a beginner, don't buy this, don't buy this, don't buy any of this until we get another bull bar. Then it's a reasonable buy. If you want to be a bear and sell, totally cool. But just remember, we're in a range market. So this move here is out of context. It is. We're not in a trend market. So this is kind of a nuts, kind of a crazy move. I mean, it's good to see, I got to tell you, because volatility, I mean, ATR, the range on that last bar, 92.5 points. ATR at 11 a.m. Eastern is almost 40. Which is good to see. We haven't seen an ATR like that in a little while. Yeah, Hawk, I'm trading about 50 micros. Copy trading across accounts. All right, we got 90 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar. Range on this bar is about 40-ish points, growing. Let's see if we can hold the 6s before we close this bar. Yeah, big bar like this is just a outsized bar. It's really tough to, like, for example, could I have sold that short? Yeah, and I'm risking 80 points. In a range market, can't do it. Can't do it. But if this can hold above 6 and see a nice clean close, this for me with consecutive bars, even though it's shrinking, the first bar was an outsized bar, I would have to think about selling that rollover. Okay, so let's see if we can get a clean close here in the low 6s. Anything beneath there, we're starting to get a little too big for me. As far as size of the bar. All right, 20 seconds. I'm gonna give it 15. Boom, and I'll hit that. Perfect. Good little entry there. There, place that stop there. Expand this a little bit. All right, sitting short. And I will, here, we'll pull this out. And I'll drive manually mostly. Again, shrinking bare body. However, contextually, the previous bar was the biggest bar of the day by far. So I'm not going to hold that against the setup, at least not too much. See if we get a push now. Again, I'm not looking for 100 points or anything crazy. Remember, context, it is a range market. I'm not looking for this to turn into some massive trend market. But, hey, intraday, man. We're clearly seeing a bit of a bear trend here, intraday. Not necessarily in the overarching market, but intraday we are. Let's see if the bears can take out that previous bar's wick low. That would, of course, be very helpful if they could. Yeah, I mean, listen, guys, that's the beauty of trading is two people can do opposite things and you can both be right. You can both be wrong. One of you can be right. The other can be wrong. It just depends how you manage it. The market, listen, it's never, you know, this is an obvious short or this is an obvious long. That's the beauty of the market. At best, you're talking 70-30 probability. 90% plus of the time, you're talking 60-40. It's a weighted coin flip. Okay, but there can be edge found in a weighted coin flip, which is what's so great about it. And whether you're right or wrong depends completely how you manage it. All right, we got a minute 30 left here on this 5-minute bar. Let's see how this closes. Bull's trying to reverse this thing up now on me. See if these bulls take out that, again, previous wick high. If they take that out, man, I want to be out. I want to be out. Ideas out the window at that point. But they got to do it to me first. You can see the tiny bit of hesitation. That's a decent bull close, man. I'd be surprised if the Bears can recover from that, at least for me. And there we go, gonna get stopped, man. 2 in a row! Heading into today, I was 15 for 16. And today, we are just getting smoked. Nah, 2 in a row is not that big. This honestly, you know, I can't buy this because we closed inside of the previous bar's wick. This was actually a better buy, believe it or not. I mean, given the hindsight, it's like, really? But as far as price action in real time, this is an inferior buy to this, for me, in my opinion. All right, let's move on to see what else we can get here. See if we can do a little cleanup. All right. Okay, so, you know, for me, looking at the 2 minute, this gives you some more context too. Maybe a bit of a descending channel starting to form. When you get these big pushes, remember we were seeing this last week. Every day for like 2 weeks. This kind of ended now, but every day we were seeing a tight bull push, and then it would enter a sideways channel for maybe 30 minutes to an hour. So something that for me, have to think about here is, okay, I have to think about the potential of a sideways channel, which means that long setups could get caught in a sideways channel and not really allow a push higher. Right? I'm not really seeing that yet. What I'm really seeing right now is on the 2 minute, again, potential for a descending channel. So we got to keep an eye out for that. Make the best decision we can. All right, we got about a minute and 7 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar. Kind of a weak bull bar. Let's see how it develops. A minute's a long time here. Yeah, I mean, this isn't particularly just specific to the 2-minute, but this is a 2-minute chart. On the lower time frames compared to the 5 minutes, so the 3-minute, the 2-minute, the 1-minute, 15-second. The bears might be looking at this as a descending channel. They might want to start getting short at that level. There is the rollover of the 5-minute, by the way, right here. I'm very curious to see if the bulls can push us through what the bears are likely to see as a little descending channel, which, by the way, would likely be, we draw it on the 2. I'd probably draw it like this, which is conveniently where we currently are at around 680. So let's see if the bulls can push through there. If they can, then we have to think about the 20 EMA and the 5. When we look at the 2-minute, well, it's not like the bulls are just having a super easy time getting through there. You know the bears are going to watch this, and they're probably going to at least try. Doesn't mean the bulls can't get us through, maybe above 22.7. Then we run into this issue. The 20 EMA on the 5. All right, we got a minute 5 seconds left here on the 5-minute chart. If the bears wick this back, then we're seeing shrinking bull body. Yeah, shrinking bull bodies. "25 seconds, see what we get." One thing we should also talk about here is that 50% retracement. Talking kinda, oh wow. Pretty damn close to where the 20 EMA on the 5 is. Now, why does that matter? It's not just a fancy 50% magic. A lot of bulls are trapped up here. Right? They bought this, they bought this, they bought this. They averaged all the way down and now they're trapped. Well, what do the bulls do when they're trapped? We just talked about this, right? That feeling of getting away with it that can be addicting to a lot of people, that causes problems in their trading because it's kind of the base for many gambling addictions. When you get that 50% retracement, all these bulls that are trapped are like, I can get out at break even, thank you. And they sell. Sometimes that's enough selling pressure to reverse it. No, it's not enough for me to take a trade, but it is enough for me to use as a supporting factor of an existing setup or to stop me from maybe getting long. Because I know that that's another piece of friction to get through. All right, we got 2 minutes, 10 seconds left here on this 5-minute bar again. We have to think about this little descending channel. You know the bears are watching. I think we have some people getting short. Right at that little descending level. Now the big question is always, is that enough to actually see a reversal? For me, I would need to see a nice clean bear bar closing below the previous bar's wick low. That's what I would need to see. Well, 5 seconds out. Again, shrinking bull bodies. Not a great sign for bulls, but not clean enough for me to be a bear yet. All right, we got 5 minutes till the close of this next bar, but I will be back well before then. Don't go anywhere. Back in a few. All right, we are back. Now I'm looking at this bar here. 30 seconds out until the close of this 5-minute bar. It's sizable, but it's not unmanageable. We're looking at about a 50-ish point range on this bar here so far. See how this closes. 10 seconds out. And I will. I'm going to have to get short there. Okay, so that is how I currently sit. And I will place this of 4 points beneath there and see. Not necessarily going to give it that whole way, but let's just see how the price action works out. Now, of course, there's always two arguments, right? There is the argument of, hey, the bear channel sustains, and then there's the bull argument of, hey, maybe this turns into a bull channel, right? So, got to keep an eye on both, but for me, I have to sell that. Got to sell that rollover. Nice little push, about 19 points in the money. $30 points in the money. Small pullback here. All right, 32 points in the money. I really want to see if I can hunt some of these stops. It's been almost a half hour since we saw this little curl get put in. Plenty of stops. Should be enough to push me 4 to 5 points if we can take it out, right? That's the question. Can we take out that little low? If we can, I get pretty much, ideally, a free 4 or 5 points of rocket fuel to hit me to target. And then from there, I'd be out and I don't care. Now again, I could take it off sooner depending on how the price action develops, but right now I wanna hunt those stops. I'd be selling myself short. Jesus. To not do that, I think. Pretty decent wick back upside out of the bulls on that last bear bar. Come on, bears. Tone finished June green. Good work. Good work. Been crazy consistent. Just passed a 50k eval with Apex today, and made sure to use code BIG. Best deal always. Apex and Take Profit Trader. Good work. It's always good to hear. Well, at best on this trade so far, we've been about 37 points in the money. I gotta tell you, I don't think I'm happy with this trade, at least at this point, until I'm able to hunt some of those stops. So I gotta leave it, let it work, see if we can take out some of those stops. If not, fine. We got some Trump headlines. This was like 8 minutes ago. He said anybody would be better than the Fed's Powell. He's beefing with Powell nonstop. So again here, if you're just joining us, I sold this short on the close of this bar into the open of this bar. At best so far on this trade, we have been, I believe, 37 points in the money. I want to take out some of these stops. You get a free, 3, 4, 5 points of rocket fuel to target. This is called stop hunting. And again, depending if price action changes here at this moment in time, I'm not really happy with this trade unless we can get a break of that low of day and hunt some of those stops. Adds to the edge, right? So when we are given a scenario that's so obvious like this one, I like to make that ask of the market. All right, Bears, do it to them. Take out that recent little wick low, and then let's go down and take out the low of day. We're only about 16 points in the money, 17 points, whatever. Bears. Well, that right there, by the way, is the 20 EMA on the 2 minute. Not that it matters too much. I'm more so interested in the 20 on the 5. Which is this. All right, we got about 55 seconds left here on this bar, this 5-minute bar. A couple of arguments right now. My setup was this, right? I sold this close into this open. We were, again, if you're just joining us, we were at best about 37 points in the money, currently about 17, 18 points in the red. The arguments right now, I'm looking at this, I mean, very clearly, right? But I look at both, right? So we also have this argument. The bulls are looking at that saying, what if this turns into a wedge? Right? Maybe even if we take this out, it turns into a bull channel. So there's always going to be both side arguments, right? It's never, at best, in a market like this, you're looking at maybe 65-35 probability. At best ever, 70-30. And most of the time, you're looking at about 60-40. Most of your trades, again, assuming a 1-to-1 reward to risk, just to make the numbers simple, you're looking at about a 60-40 probability on most of your trades. That's a weighted coin flip, right? Which again, another reason to scale this thing horizontally, because you know, you can lose 6, 7 weighted coin flips in a row with a 40% probability of loss. You can lose way more than that in a row. You gotta be able to take that drawdown, right? Trade small per account, scale horizontally, meaning scale to more prop accounts, trade small per account. Scaling vertically, it doesn't tend to work very well for most people. You lose 2 in a row, you blow up. Bernard, hey Nico, do you have days that you don't see the market clearly? Like everything doesn't make sense? Yeah, you know, I can usually make sense of what I think's going on. But there are definitely days, I wouldn't call today one of them. Today's hasn't been that big of a deal. But, you know, there's days where maybe you lose 6 scalps in a row and you're like, I don't know, I'm betting against breakouts. We'll be in a range. And it seems like, you know, the 6 setups I took were the 15% probability that the breakout kind of succeeded. Make sure you know where to draw that line, because if you start thinking you're just not seeing things well, but you're just getting quote-unquote kind of unlucky with the setups you're taking, that's very different from the days where you are not seeing things well, and those days will certainly also come. For example, if you think that you're in a big monster range day, but it turns out to be a huge trend day and you haven't realized it and it's 3 p.m. Eastern, you're not seeing things too clearly. But I mean, we're looking at this. At least as it sits right now, I think it's pretty tough to call this a big monster trend day, especially when you consider the daily chart. We've been ranging for months. Well, back to small green here on the trade. So far, again, if you're just joining us here, at best we've been 37 points in the green on this trade. At worst, we were maybe 19 points in the red. Sitting pretty much break even as it sits right now. Well, if this trade does work out, again, I don't think I'll manage it. It depends how the price action works out, but I really don't think I'd be managing this one before I really want to see these stops get hunted. That's really the big idea on the trade. If we can hit that low, take it out, boom, I get a free few points of rocket fuel. That changes the edge in my favor, even that much more. So, you know, that's the thought process here currently. Again, I'm short, right? But the bull argument here is this. Gotta keep an eye on that. Gotta keep an eye on that. Let's see if the bears can, I'm sorry, if the bulls will give that up. The bears can kind of claim that. Blanc, what's your heart rate at? Probably about 37. So again, this is what I'm watching here. Let's just clean that up, make it easier to look at. But it's what we're looking at. Yeah, no other headlines, really. I mean, just the U.S. Senate passes sweeping tax cut and spending bill, sends to House. Yeah, I mean, with news like this, the market is going to react only if something very unexpected happens. I mean, this is kind of on everyone's radar, so when that gets sent to the House, the market barely moved. TC, good morning. Last couple days you have been after a 20-ish point move. What changed today? Volatility is just up a little bit. That's all. Well, I imagine this trade is probably going to take its time, huh? Which is fine. Hey, again, just to give you an update. My setup here, I sold, I know it's hard to tell. I sold the close of this bar short into the open of this bar. So again, at best, we've been like 37 points in the green. At worst, we were like 19 points in the red. I imagine this is likely going to take its time. So I'll tell you what, guys, Take Profit Trader is currently running, I'm serious, it's the best deal I've ever seen them run. I think Take Profit is the best to get started if you're trying to bootstrap this as a career to go full time. They let you do daily payouts. Apex does not, but Apex lets you scale to 20 accounts. So what's the approach? I say start with Take Profit, start taking daily payouts, get money coming into the bank, and then scale with Apex. Get up to 3, 4, 5 Take Profits, and then get up to 10, 15, 20 Apex when it's time to scale. Best deal always, both of which, by the way, Apex and Take Profit with code BIG. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to let this trade work. I'm going to go hit lunch, and I'll see you guys in the morning. Sound good? All right, guys, hey, be patient. Let the trade come to you. And as we've seen today, listen, just put on good trades, make good decisions, and accept the outcome. All right, guys? All right, I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a good one.